This segment of DelmarvaLife is sponsored by For All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center.
You know, we've spent a lot of time on DelmarvaLife addressing mental health and trying to raise awareness about the stigma that is associated with the subject. And one thing that you might consider is that a mental health disorder can sometimes be worse by other factors, or made worse by other factors, such as substance abuse. These combinations can cause significant negative effects on an individual's life and are often misunderstood. So helping us better understand this is Beth Dorman. She is the CEO of For All Seasons Behavioral Health and Rape Crisis Center. Welcome. Always good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, so let's start off by talking about something called co-occurring disorder. What is it?
So co-occurring disorder means that there's something else that comes along with a diagnosis. So, you know, you might hear that people have had a diagnosis of depression or anxiety, maybe PTSD, maybe it's bipolar disorder. But co-occurring means that there's also a substance abuse disorder involving that diagnosis. So, you know, what we know about substance use is that usually it is not just a substance use issue, that there is an underlying mental health condition that comes along with that. And that's how we arrive at our co-occurring disorders.
Is this something that's common?
It is very common. You know, when we think about the ability for people to numb when bad things are happening, and alcohol being one of the ways that people choose to numb, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's a combination of both. We know that there's an underlying thing that typically leads people to overuse substances. And so yes, it's extremely common in our communities.
So what are the risk factors for co-occurring disorder?
One of the things that we know about co-occurring disorders and why it's risky is because we have to really get to the root of the problem. If we're only trying to treat the substance use disorder, but we're not really going deeper to say what is causing someone to use, that becomes a risk factor because we are not helping to solve and or work towards a solution with a problem. We're really allowing it to perpetuate in ways that can impact the physical health of a human being. And it also can make the symptoms of depression or anxiety, for instance, 10 times worse without really paying attention to, let's re-examine what is happening here, being able to both treat the substance use disorder and get to the bottom of the mental health condition.
Makes sense. So are there things that we should be on the lookout for if we suspect somebody is dealing with this?
Absolutely. And let me just be really clear. These are complex issues. This is not as simple as I have a problem, I'm going to get help and it's done. Or I see a problem and I'm going to tell someone they need help and it's done. So recognizing that part of our role as family members, maybe even as an individual who's struggling with both, is to pay attention to habits, to pay attention to the way that someone is showing up. You know, if you and I are in a conversation and how I know you to have shown up for years is not the way that you've been showing up, maybe there's more substance use happening, maybe you're pulling back more from conversations, it's an opportunity to open up a dialogue. It's also an opportunity to talk with a mental health professional to be able to say, maybe I'm using alcohol as my resource at the end of a hard day. Maybe I'm disengaging from the community. Perhaps that when I'm feeling extremely stressed or I'm feeling depressed, that's my outlet. So being able to look at how our patterns are developing, and as family members, having those conversations and just maybe calling attention in the beginning and making sure that we're connecting people to resources.
Now, if somebody is already being treated for mental health issues, can alcohol and other drugs make it worse with the medication they're taking?
Absolutely.
And make the medication not work?
Yeah, it's really important to be talking to our doctors about the impact of alcohol. You know, typically your prescription bottle will say do not use alcohol. Maybe it says do not drive on these prescriptions. Those are not things to be taken lightly, and it's really important that you're having conversations with your doctors about what is the impact if alcohol is mixed with a drug, because at the end of the day, what the prescriptions are trying to do is balance out the chemicals in our brain. If we're adding additional chemicals into the brain through alcohol or drugs, it will absolutely impact A, the ability for the medication to do its job, but B, the side effects on the person.
Very interesting. So much, and as you said, it is a complex.
It is. None of these are easy topics.
No.
And, you know, and for folks who are saying, I have someone in my family who's struggling, I've told them that I think there's a problem, but they're not hearing it. It is a conversation that we have to keep going back to. And, you know, our advice is always keep having the conversation. And for people who are family members of someone who might be struggling, it is okay for you to reach out as a family member to build your skills and tools to say, how do I cope with someone who is struggling with co-occurring disorder who may or may not want to seek help.
I don't think people think about that
Yeah,
as,
it's
as
so
an
important.
option.
So
Yes,
important.
Yes, a great resource for all seasons. Thank you so much,
Thank
Beth
you.
Ann, for coming in. Enjoy your day.